crafters, it's Chloe from Chloe's Creative Cards, and I'm really excited to be showing you today this fantastic project using our new Santa's Key stamp and die set. This is a really fun card to make for Christmas and it's just absolutely stunning. It's a little bit different to some of the projects that we've done in the past, but I really hope that you're going to enjoy creating this card with me. All of the materials are listed in the description below, so please do have a little look in there, and I'm going to take you through step by step how to create this fabulous card. So to start with, the card base size, it's a little bit of an unusual one. I felt like I'd challenge myself with this one. So I've actually cut it down to 5.5 inches by 7.5 inches. Okay, if you wanted to, I'm sure you could make an envelope to fit this, or you could pop it in a little box. But I thought it'd be a little bit different to do a nice rectangular card for a change. So we're going to start off with our base card. So to do that, I have just cut down an 8x8 card blank. And I've just got that ready here, and I've taken one of the beautiful papers from the Santa's Workshop paper pad, and we're going to stick that down onto the front. So I'm just going to take my glue and stick this in place. So just a little bit of glue onto the back, and I've just cut this down so it's slightly smaller than my card size. So we'll get that way, and I love this paper. It's got lovely little kind of stampy type of sentiments on. So you've got approved by Santa, you've got on the nice list, really lovely. So we'll get that stuck down first. Okay, then next up I'm going to take one of the dies from the A5 Snowflake rectangle die sets. So it's this one here, and I thought this would be really lovely if we cut this out of another one of the papers, so it's like a snowy effect one. So I'm going to pop that down onto here, and I'm going to tape it down into place just with a little bit of low tack tape. So I'm going to stick that there and stick that there, and then we're going to run that through our die cutting machine. So I'm using a Gemini machine. So the plate combination that I'm going to use is my base plate, my plastic shim, and then my cutting plate on the top. And we're just going to run this through. And then we'll grab that at the other side when it's finished. There we go. You can see my Gemini hasn't fully cut through that, so I'm going to rotate it by 90 degrees and just send it through again. With the larger dies, I do tend to do that, cut with less plates, but just run them through a couple of times. And I do tend to find that that gives you a much better cut as well. So if we lift that off now, we can see, hopefully that die is all cut through beautifully. This little bit here in the corner. I'll be honest, I think my Gemini is on its last legs at the moment because it seems to be doing some funny things recently. So what I'll do is I'll add in my metal shim and just send that back through. Again, you can always add to the sandwich, but you're better off building up gradually. There we go, that's cut through perfectly. So we're going to grab that at the other side and then lift this off, and you will see we've got this beautiful little border cut out. So it's got the little snowflakes cut out around the edge. So what I've already done is trim down a little piece of gold mirror card that I knew would fit underneath here, and we're just going to stick it on the top with some foam pads. So just a few foam pads. These are our foam pads on a roll. If you've watched my videos before, you'll know that we use these constantly. They are fabulous for your mats and layers. Just take the backs off those there. And then stick this down just under the top of that gold mirror card. And then we'll flip that round and pop some foam pads on the back of here too. Just going to use few foam pads just on the back to layer this up. Again, we're going to just peel the backs off. and we'll stick this down. So I'm going to stick it down at a slight little jaunty angle on my card, like so. Just a little bit different there. So next up, now we've got kind of the base made up, we're going to start to create this beautiful tag design to go in the middle. So I've taken the little tag die that you get in the Santa key set, and I've already die cut 2 out just from some plain white cardstock. Okay, and if I hold this up, you'll be able to see it's got a lovely little kind of 4-stitched edge on it. Don't know whether the camera will just be picking that up or not, but it's really, really pretty with that little 4-stitched edge just round the side there. So what we're going to do next is we're going to stamp these tags up. So one we're going to pop the Christmas verse onto, and the other one we're going to pop little Santa's key kind of sentiment onto there. So we're going to take the stamps. So I've got Santa's magic key, and I'm going to use that little starry trail as well. So we're kind of using the design in a portrait format, if that makes sense. So we're going to take our stamp, pop it onto our acrylic block, and we're going to take an anti-static bag along with a clear embossing ink pad. So I'm using the Wow clear embossing ink pad. We're going to dust over the little tag, like so, and then we're going to take our ink pad and ink up the stamp. So lots of tapping all over the image, and then we're going to stamp that down at the bottom, like so. Lift that off, and we're going to take a little bit of scrap paper and our Twinkling Lights Wow powder. This is a beautiful gold, and it's got a gold glitter in there along with a holographic glitter, so it really sparkles and shines. So pop that back into the jar, and then I'm going to take this one off, pop that there, and take the little starry one before we heat it up. I'm going to pop that onto my block, re-ink that up, and then we're going to just stamp that little kind of starry trail just going across the top here. And we'll cover that with a little bit of embossing powder. So you're just going to see that tucking out from behind the other tag. So we'll heat this up. So we're just waiting for that embossing powder to turn from a dull kind of brown colour to a lovely bright shiny gold. So we're just going to hold that heat gun still, and then as soon as that embossing powder starts to melt and change, we're just going to move the heat gun over the image, and you can see there we've got that lovely, oops, apart from when you put your thumb in it while it's still warm, that lovely Santa's Magic Key sentiment. And look at the bling and the sparkle that you get with the Wow powders. So next up, we're going to kind of build up the little verse. Now I'm just working out if this little verse will all fit. Oh yeah, it will, on my little acrylic block that I've got here. So we're going to go with a dash of magic and a sprinkle of Christmas tree, leave this special key out for me. So what I tend to do is I flip the tag over, so it's kind of on the back, and I like to just lay the stamps out like this. Try to be really mindful of not putting my head in the camera as well, which is always a challenge on the overhead. So I'm going to kind of line these up. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And then once I'm happy with them, I'm going to take my acrylic block and place it over the top. And that'll then pick the stamps up. You do need to do it on the back of the tag though, because if you do it on the front and there's any ink or anything on your stamps, it'll affect your embossing. So then what I do is, once I've got them roughly kind of in place, I just go in on my stamping block and follow the little lines that we have on the stamping block that help us line things up. So pop that there. Actually, if we pop it on a darker colour, you might be able to see a little bit better. So can you see how I'm just lining that up and kind of trying to keep everything pretty central? I'm quite happy with that now. So then next up, we're going to take our anti-static bag and dust over our little tag. And then we're going to take our clear embossing ink pad and ink up that stamp. Like so. And then we're going to take our stamp and place it down onto the tag. So again, hover and press And then I'm going to stamp that down and lift that away. We're then going to take our scrap paper back in, sprinkle over our embossing powder. Anything we don't use is going straight back into that jar, so you're not really wasting anything or anything like that. And then we're going to take our heat tool and just heat this up. Then you can see again you've got that beautiful gold embossing powder on the tag. So what we're kind of going to do now is just arrange these so we can get them stuck together. So what I'm going to do is pop a little foam pad just behind about here on the back of my tag with the verse, and then we're going to line the little holes up, and I'm going to just angle it and then stick it down so you can see the Santa's magic key part. Okay, so next up we're going to start and create the key. So I have actually already die cut these out because you need quite a few. So what you are going to do is you're going to die cut 4 keys from white, just plain white card, any white card stock. And then you're going to die cut 2 from some gold mirror card. But what you're going to do is die cut 1 so it's the correct way, and then die cut the other so you cut it back to front, if that makes sense. So normally you'd put your die kind of this way down onto your mirror card and cut it out, but what you're going to do is cut it the other way, so you're cutting up into the mirror card. And what that means is you've got a mirror image so you can put the keys back to back. So what I've then done, and I've done this ahead of time just because you need to allow your glue time to dry, I've gone into the key and I've covered it with some just dries clear PVA glue, and then I've sprinkled it with that lovely Dulce de Leche glitter. So it's a beautiful sparkly gold, and that then gives you these lovely sparkly gold keys. So what we can then do is we can take our dries clear PVA and we're going to just start and stick all of these keys together. So what we'll do is just roughly go over these. You don't have to be too careful, but you do want to make sure that you've got plenty of glue on there. And then just start to layer these up and stick them together. Now, because we're using a PVA glue, you will have a little bit of time to maneuver this. So we're going to stick all of the white ones together first. So just a little bit of glue on the back, like this. And we'll just work around adding that PVA onto here. Like so. And then just sticking that down. Into there, and I'm not bothered if I get glue all over this, it doesn't really matter because we're going to cover it up anyway. Why we're doing this is just so it gives us like that lovely thick key effect. So just by layering these all together, it's going to give you a beautiful finish. So just work round. I'm just going to use my little pokey tool as well, because what that does is it sometimes just helps you line it up a little bit more. So we'll stick that all down onto there. That then looks lovely. And then we're going to take the back of the gold one and start to glue these on the top. So again, just use my dries clear PVA, and it's such an easy thing to do. And then we'll flip that over, stick that down into here. And there we go. And this has been such a popular stamp and die set as well. You've all been loving this. And I'm so pleased because I thought it was a fab idea, and I was like, it's so magical to make Christmas cards. Obviously, if you have kids as well, you could get them to make their own magic key for Santa, which I think would be a lovely little activity to do. So then we'll just work round, adding a little bit of PVA glue onto here. And then we're going to flip that over and stick that on the back, like that. So now it makes sense as to why we cut that one back to front, because then it means that you've got the key, the beautiful gold glittering key, all the way around, okay, which is a really cool look. So I'm just going to grab a baby wipe for my fingers. Because they're a little bit gluey now. And what we're going to do is take a little bit of lovely kind of thin red ribbon. Okay, and what we're going to do is thread this ribbon through the top of the key. So let's push that through. It is a little bit easier if you do this at home, if you actually allow it time to dry. I will say that. So, and pull that through. So then you can kind of decide how long you want the key to be. So I'm going to leave mine at about here, let's say, and then I can keep that for another project. And then I've got some little bells, and I just bought these off Amazon. And I'm going to just thread these through, and this is such an easy little technique, but it adds so much fun to your projects. So I've got two little red bells. I'm going to pop that one there, and probably add this one onto the other one here. And there we go. So then you can add those onto the key, and that just gives it that kind of tactile finish, and you get that lovely noise as well. So then we can pull that up, and there we go. That's our little magic key all created there with the little bells on. So we can start to arrange our card now. So we'll bring our base card back in. We're going to stick our tags in the middle. So I'm going to put a couple of foam pads on the back of this one, and then on this one I'm going to do a double layer. There we go. And then we'll stick that down onto our card. So I'm going to stick it about here. And then we're going to pop our little key. So you can actually, if I thought about this, I should have done this before I tied the knot in it. Like, just be able to force it through. There we go. Do that part before you tie the knot in your key, but then you can thread your little magic key through. So that's then dangling on the front of your card. I've then got a lovely bow that I've tied just from some red sheer ribbon. So I'm going to pop a glue dot on the back of there and stick that over the top. And I like to add a little sparkler into the middle of my bows as well. Now, of course, if you want to, you can colour the sparklers with alcohol markers too, to add a little bit of colour. Okay, and then to finish this card off, I'm going to create this little envelope for the bottom corner. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to use the Letter to Santa stamp and die set. And I'm going to take the little envelope die, and I've got again one of the papers from the paper pad. And I'm just placing that on one of the text papers. I'm going to just pop that down with a little bit of low tack. And then we'll take our Gemini again and just run this through our machine. And we'll just grab that at the other side when it's done. There we go. And we'll pop that out. So you can see how you've got your little envelope shape, and it does have the score lines on. So what I'm going to do now is just go in and fold up my little envelope. So we'll just pop a little bit of glue just on this little part here and this little part here. There we go, and that glue is going to dry perfectly clear, so you're not going to see that when it's dry. And then next up, we are going to take our little stamp set again, and we're going to take this magic key only works on Christmas Eve stamp. So we're going to take this one, and I've got a bit of white card here, and we're just going to stamp and emboss that. So dusting over with my anti-static, I'm going to ink up my stamp with my clear embossing ink pad. And I'm going to place that down and press. Lift that off. I'm going to take Twinkling Lights again, sprinkle that back over the top, give it a little shimmy, tap away the excess, and then we're going to pop that back into the jar, like so. And then we're going to take our heat tool and heat this up. There we go. And then there's a little die that comes with the envelope, which is the perfect size to fit inside. So we're going to use that little rectangle die. You could, of course, you could cut it with your scissors or with a guillotine if you wanted to, but the die's there to make our lives easier, so we might as well use it. So we're going to pop that into place. I'll take my plates and just run this through. Go. Just tidying my desk up there as we go. And then we'll grab that out and we'll push that through, and then we've got that perfect little letter that's going to fit just inside our little envelope. So we'll grab our card back in. I'm going to pop a little foam pad just on the back of that envelope to stick it down. And then we'll just stick that on the corner there. And then what I tend to do with this is just pop a bit of foam on the back. So just a little foam pad on there. And then you can kind of just tuck it in the envelope. And that would then be your finished card. Now to finish this off a little bit more, I've gone in and just added some little jewels into the corner on my finished one. But you can see how fabulous this is and what a beautiful Christmas card that would make. I really hope that you've enjoyed watching today's project, and I hope you've crafted along with me as well. All of the materials used are listed in the description below, so please do have a little look in there. The links to the website are all there as well, so please do hop over and have a little look. I really hope that you have enjoyed watching and making this one with me today, and if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got so much inspiration on there, and there are so many more videos that we are filming. Hope to see you again soon. Bye!